Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. It is Mr. Cowboys fan. Of course, before we proceed into the video, leave a like and subscribe. It is I, Mr. Cowboys fan, where we talk about cowboy things. Alright, so of course we know about, what's going around as far as, Justin Simmons out at some type of camp or something, the other day, whether it was yesterday or if it was the day before. But Justin Simmons was at like a camp or some sort of football event, and he was, on like, whatever. I'm not gonna lie, I can't even remember exactly what it was. If it was like Instagram, whether it was TikTok, Twitter, whatever it was, some type of social media, platform that he was recording himself on. And you saw, of course, in the video, it's pretty obvious. You recognize it almost immediately. You see him, of course, with the Dallas hat on. And look, I know what you're thinking. We've been down this road before. Alright, we've been down this road before. Back in 2017, in the, week 16 regular season game after the Seattle Seahawks had just eliminated us from the playoffs. And Earl Thomas was running down the locker room of the Cowboys tunnel, and, ran over to Jason Garrett and said, and was basically like, please come and get me, and Jason just kind of, was like, gave a little bit of a smile and gave him a pat on the shoulder and stuff. But listen, I'm sure Jason Garrett, I'm sure everybody wanted Earl Thomas, at the time. I'm sure they all wanted him, but it's still up to Jerry and Stephen Jones to make it happen. And obviously we know that they never made it happen. Now, the whole Earl Thomas thing was a ongoing thing that went for like 3 years, all the way up until 2020, where all the dust settled. But yeah, there was that. There was the Odell Beckham Jr., making hints about wanting to come to Dallas. There were obviously hints about Dallas wanting him to, there was obviously hints about Dallas wanting him as well. OBJ went to a Dallas Mavericks game, during the 2022 season, of course. He went to a Mavericks game, and the whole Mavs crowd was chanting, OBJ, 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 OBJ. And he's, just like with his crew and just kind of laughing and just loving it, like, I mean, I don't know. To this day, I don't know if he was trolling or what, but the fact of the matter is that he seemed pretty uplifting, from the crowd, and seeming like they were really wanting to welcome him with open arms, and I feel like had we signed OBJ instead of course, getting T.Y. Hilton, I feel like that would have definitely been something that would have, moved the needle pretty significantly as far as us being able to make a championship run that year. Because obviously we know that, the 49ers had us on clamps in the divisional playoff game that year in 2022. And we all know, look, as much as I said that Dak played awful in that game, I mean, it definitely didn't help him, the fact that CeeDee Lamb was like the only valuable, reliable source, the only reliable weapon that he really could like lean towards. I guess if you want to say Dalton Schultz, I mean, it is what it is. But I really believe that Odell Beckham would have been a move that definitely would have moved the needle and definitely would have been able to, help us rise to a higher level as far as being able to make something happen that year. But, Steven and Jerry did not make a move. So it didn't happen. And then, of course, there was even last year during like the off season, if I'm not mistaken. So DeAndre Hopkins has now become, I believe, a free agent, at this point. And, basically he was on Des Bryant's podcast and he was talking about, hey, Dallas, come get me, come get me. And look, D-Hop, I would have come and got you, no Diddy, all right? I would have got you. I would have marched up in there immediately and I would have freaking grabbed you myself and pulled you into the freaking Cowboys facility. This dude is now officially a Dallas Cowboy. I would have done it, but I don't have that type of control. But either way, it didn't happen. And then of course, who else was it? It was, I believe, there was somebody else. There was another receiver who was talking about saying he would love to catch passes from Dak Prescott. It was Juju. That's who it was. I think it was Juju Smith-Schuster, if I'm not mistaken. And look, you can say what you want about Juju, but I still believe Juju was very, important and a very, great contributor to the Kansas City Chiefs offense when they won the Super Bowl in 2022. I felt like he was very impactful as far as a contributor to why that happened. Like you go look and watch, and it was Juju that Mahomes, if it wasn't Kelsey, it was Juju that he always was able to count on, But, so yeah, Juju was talking about saying, it would be nice to catch passes from Dak Prescott, catch passes in the Cowboys facility. And then, like there was the whole thing of Jerry talking over and over about saying that he's going to get Jonathan Brooks in the draft. It seems like anytime we talk about something happening, like something publicly, like on social media or whatever, it never happens. It's something that literally just, when something major does happen, it seems to, like just out of the blue come out of the woodworks, when everybody least expected it. So, I mean, Brandon Cooks, we attempted to try to trade for Brandon Cooks near the trade deadline in 2022, but Houston was asking for too much. So once the off season came along the next year, we finally snagged him, and the Texans, were able to give us a much more bargaining deal compared to, they were asking for a first round pick. Can y'all believe that? They were asking for a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken, at that trade deadline period. I mean, that is ridiculous. Brandon Cooks is still very underrated as heck, but come on, bro. He's not that underrated to use a first round pick on. Come on, man. So, yeah, so there was the Juju thing. And then there was even, you know, the Calais Campbell thing was also talked about during the offseason in 2018. You know, Cowboys should go and try to, attempt to bring Calais Campbell. And that was even also sort of talked about, a little recently this offseason as well. Well, obviously, both times it never happened. Calais Campbell is now, if I'm not mistaken, an Atlanta Falcon now. So there's that. And then back in 2018, he went to the Jaguars. So there was that. So, I mean, like, it is what it is, man. And then, of course, speaking of, because he recently was playing with the Ravens, and yeah, speaking of them, Derrick Henry, there were talks about us getting Derrick Henry. He was a free agent, and they never called him. He actually came out even during like the press conference with the Ravens, I think, openly saying that, he did want to become a Dallas Cowboy. I don't think he said it during the press conference, but at one point, after he was signed with the Ravens, he did talk about, somewhere talking about, speaking openly about that he did want to become a Dallas Cowboy, but they never picked up the phone. They never called him. I don't know what it is with the Dallas Cowboys, man. I don't know why we can't just freaking open up the wallet, man. I don't know why we can't just break open the bank, Like, I don't know what it is about Jerry and Steven, man. They don't want to break open the bank. I mean, and now we're talking, and now, we talked about all those different free agents, all those different, players that, have openly talked about wanting to play for the Cowboys, players that really wanted them to, come and play for them, and it just never happened. So now we have the Justin Simmons, that thing that just recently happened that we can now discuss about, because this is what I wanted to save this for last. While I discussed all those other players that, rumors about that this may happen, now we can finally get to this about Justin Simmons. So, Justin Simmons, going out to a little camp and, or football event and wearing a Dallas hat. Honestly, like, you could compare Justin Simmons wearing that Dallas hat to wearing a Trump hat right now. I mean, it's a big deal, Seeing him wearing that Dallas hat, bro, especially in that video that he recorded himself in. I mean, hey, the dude is trying to, show a signal, like he wants the Cowboys to come calling and sign him. And here's my thing. The reason why Justin Simmons has still been on the market, the reason why he still has been on the market is because, from my understanding, I heard that apparently he's asking for, too much money, apparently. And albeit, Justin Simmons is 30 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He is 30 years old, but he's still playing he's still, in my opinion, if you ask me, he's still playing in the absolute prime of his career. Last year, he didn't, have his typical Pro Bowl caliber seasons like, he usually does, mainly because injuries kind of bothered him last year. But, and I know people are going to be like, see, he's injury prone. That's just last year. So either way, dude can certainly come back healthier, healthier than people are expecting this season if he gets brung in by a team. And of course, I would like it to be Dallas, because you look at our safety room, and our safety room is decent. J-Ron Curse, Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, it's a decent safety room. But if you can bring in a 4-time Pro Bowl safety in Justin Simmons, you're not gonna take that. I know we got a pretty good safety room already right now, but are you not taking that? And here comes some people who will be like, yes, at the right price though. Let me tell you something. We're talking about a 4-time Pro Bowler in Justin Simmons, who is a ball hawk. All right, that dude can guard, the full perimeter of the field, and read a quarterback's eyes and be able to react to the throw and attack the football and make an interception, pick it off, or at the very least, at least break up the pass. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're talking about a guy who, honestly, you could compare him to, he's almost like today's generation Ed Reed, if you ask me. He's like, today's generation Ed Reed. And I know that some people will say that might be a little disrespectful, but, to say, Justin Simmons is not even close to Ed Reed's level. But nah, you look at it, the way he plays, the time and distance that he can cover and make plays out there. I don't know about his hitting ability, but yeah, his coverage ability is very much like an Ed Reed. And I would love to have that on my team. You're talking about a guy who you can, you're talking about a guy who you can put like all of your corners on an island. You can put all of your corners on an island and, put them man to man, and then have Justin Simmons be the single high safety, just like Ed Reed, would do on multiple occasions during his career with the Ravens / Texans / Jets. I mean, that's what Justin Simmons can bring to the table. He makes it easier for you to play certain coverages and certain, personnel on defense because of his ability to cover, the whole field as a center fielder. So, if I were the Cowboys, I would obviously want to make a move to try to bring him in, to play for us, obviously. But obviously, I'm not the Joneses. I'm not the one who has that control over being able to make that happen. They're the ones who have to make that happen, and here we go again for the second time. A top-notch Pro Bowl safety campaigning, to want to play for the Dallas Cowboys, and, fans being like, oh my gosh, that would be incredible. Cowboys need to make that happen. And then it's obviously a very high possibility that we could be very much obviously disappointed. So, I mean, just gotta wait and see what happens, and wait and see if, Jerry and Steven pull the trigger. I don't believe that they will, but it's always nice to think about and hope that it can happen, but that's really, all I just want to be real with you guys as far as like, hey, it's a very low percentage chance that this could happen, but if it does, this is what I believe he can bring to the table for our secondary, as far as just making it so much more easier and more simple as far as the certain type of coverage and personnel that we put out there, what he brings to the table as a center fielder would just be so beneficial and make it so much easier for Mike Zimmer as far as what he wants to do. So, that's all I got, for this video. Of course, tune in later on tonight for another late night talk episode as usual. So to all my audience, let me know y'all's thoughts and opinions, of course, like in the comments, or, whatever, and leave a like and subscribe. And this is Mr. Cowboys Fan, and we are out.